Afternoon, Piers. How are you?
Good.
That's good. So thank you for taking the time to go through the two information sessions that we'll be conducting. So we'll be conducting two information sessions over a duration of 2 days. So as you're a training manager, the sort of things I wanted to go through with you are different flow charts when sort of getting interest from candidates. So whether it's through Seek, LinkedIn, other sort of different advertisement platforms that you'd use to try and employ further trainers. So that will be the first session we'll be working on today. And then that second part of the first session will also be training and assessor interview guides. So with that, what sort of questions you'll be asking your future employees, so your trainers as well, and then giving them a rating, so like a scale as well. So the rating scale will be anywhere from 1 to 5, and then after, at the end of the page, it will be a total summary. So you'll be sort of coming up with a number. So yeah, if that number, for example, is, they have to hit a 30 or a 25 out of that total amount, that's where you'd sort of reassess and say, would this person be the right candidate for my company, or are we just wasting time here? So this is why I've developed these two different sort of information pamphlets, you can say, just to help you to make it an easier process. And then in session 2, which will be the remainder of this week, we'll be going through a different sort of session as well, but we'll cover that. I'll introduce that in that second session. All right, so firstly on this first form, so how do you normally sort of try and get in your trainers? What's your process, you'd say you do?
Okay, so at the moment we're struggling to have allied health trainers, and what we're facing is that there are people out there and we're trying to recruit them through Seek. That's the majority of the application coming through. We also put it on our Facebook page to get majority of the applicants to be informed. And we also got a LinkedIn page as well. So these are the three major channels that we normally utilize.
Perfect. And have you found sort of anyone?
At the moment only one, but we are still looking for 4 more. Because soonish we will have like a very intensive course to be done over 6 weeks' time. So we'll need to have another 3 or 4 trainers, I guess.
So you probably need something pretty urgent. That's good. This flowchart indicates, so there's 7 different steps to this flowchart. So on Seek, as I'm aware, when people apply for different jobs and processes, they can tick yes that they maybe have a TAE, for example, but they actually don't. So you probably face these things a lot. So that's what I've included in this flowchart. So step 1 would be, does the applicant have a TAE? Step 2, does the applicant have same or higher or similar qualifications to that? Step 3, does the applicant have at least 18 months industry experience? So if you wanted to get a trainer for the allied health course, have they been a physio or a myotherapist for 18 months? Do they have that industry experience to bring into your teaching rooms? Step 4 would be, if you wanted to find out this, you'd therefore ring the candidate applying for the job. So you could ask them, do you have your TAE? Do you have experience in the field for 18 months or not? This will give you a clear indication of if they really do have these qualifications, if they don't. And the reason why you'd ask, you don't want them to come to your office and then during the interview phase, during the interview phase, they don't have this. So this is just wasting pretty much your time from your job role and the company's sort of time as well. So if any of these are no, you wouldn't progress them to like the 5th, 6th or 7th stage of the interview process. You pretty much end it through the phone call, just so you avoid that initial meeting of them coming in and wasting your time and the company's time as well. If all of these 4 steps are positive, then what you do, you'd move on to step 5. So providing the applicant with a suitable date as well for an interview. So doing that through email or a call, inviting them in, getting to know them a bit more, really deciding face to face, can I see this person for my company, can I not? And yeah, this won't sort of waste time. You would be more interested to find out more about them as well. And you might go through, different series as well with them. You might get them to get up and maybe deliver something for 5 or 10 minutes just to see if they're suitable, the way they sort of introduce topics, touch base on things. Yeah, so you can get a bit more of a gauge that way as well. Step 6, after the interview, complete the form. So you'd move on to this one as well. So this would be the form you'd sort of complete and ask some questions, but we'll touch on that a bit later as well. And then you'd also review their trainer matrix. So you could even review their trainer matrix. Your quality and compliance manager could review it as well. Yeah, so that's where you say, are they able to map things correctly as well? Have they put the right qualifications, like code and units and titles? Have they presented that properly? If you find errors as well, you could find that they really don't have these qualifications, and they're just trying to put something to get the job, which, we can't do that because under requirements from ASQA and other associations, they won't be allowed to teach. So yeah, that's sort of things you'll find out during this whole process. So yeah, any questions on that flow chart at all?
Good.
Yeah,
all very clear.
yeah. If you want that, I can give you a copy of this today, or I can send it through to you as well.
To email probably is better.
All right, email. Yeah,
please.
no worries. And I'll put your other sort of
Thank
line managers on that email as well. Perfect. So we'll move on to the second phase. So the trainer and assessor interview guide. So we'll go through like the loading scales, what that means, and the ratings as well. So the questions, rating, and loading scales in this guide are related to the matrix criteria. So a loading scale will apply to take account for important value of criteria areas indicated below. So if you see here criteria 1 and 2, 100% loading or double the value of the rating is ×2. Criteria 3 and 4, so 50% loading or 1.5 of the value of the rating is ×1.5, and then criteria 5, B standard and the standard ×1. Yeah, and then the rating of 1 to 5, so pretty much 5 being the best and 1 being the least. So 5 is greatly exceeds, and then 1 would be well below expectations. Yeah, so that's how you'd sort of judge them. Yeah, so use this. This is a great sort of key and table to follow, and it helps make the process a bit easier. So the first one would be the introductory questions. So you'd simply ask them, why are you interested in working at Stirling Institute of Australia? Yeah, so get a gauge. They're not going to come in here and say, oh, I want to be working as a vet. It has to really relate to what you guys are presenting. Yeah, the vision as well. Yeah, and what you're looking for as well. So you might get, not a detailed answer. You might rate that a 1 or 2 in the end. So that's all up to you guys on how you rate things. Question 2, what's your understanding of this role and why you're interested? Yeah, so again, finding out why they're interested. Why have they applied at Stirling as well? Why Stirling and not another RTO? What's attracted them to come here? So that's another thing you can ask. So a few more on this section. What do you believe the key elements are to being a successful classroom-based trainer? Yeah, so that's probably asked more classroom-based. It's not on a workplace. It's not in another environment. So what makes them successful in the classroom? What can they do differently to anyone else in the classroom as well? What will they bring to the company? Question 2 on this page, are there any areas of focus from mention the industry relevant from the trainer, for example, aging and support, that you would want to install in your students? Yeah, so getting them to provide sort of examples and how they've displayed that throughout the areas. Okay, we'll move on to the second page here. Also, please outline the strategies you have employed in the past to ensure that you're able to meet reporting and complying requirements. So that comes, you know, within sort of matrix as well, what they've done in the past, where they've worked. Yeah, so just to get a feel of how many years experience that will come back to as well. Here you'll see, could you provide us with an example in which you were able to manage competing priorities? So what they did there in that area. And then this sort of goes on as well. Question 10, I find, is a real important one. So other than being a great trainer, what do you believe are the characteristics of a highly valued staff member within RTO? So again, that's going to how they even are as a person. So what they'll sort of do outside of just being a trainer as well, the value, the sort of experience they'll bring to the team. Are they going to be, you know, enjoying to work in a happy environment? So things like that as well. Then the second sort of section throughout here are motivational questions. So this is where you want to sort of find out how driven they are, how motivated they are, how much they want to sort of guide and mentor our upcoming students within different courses as well. So how would you describe the work environment or cultures you're most productive and happy in? So that's extremely important, as you know. You want that right person to bring happiness in the classroom and to make people feel welcomed as well. Question 2, what actions, behaviours or events would limit or impact your workplace motivation? Yeah, so what might sort of get in the way of their motivation? And, you know, as their employer, you'd want to know that to try and help a trainer in that situation to try sort of maybe make that a happier experience, or maybe you could add something in the classroom or change something for them. And I'm sure they'd value that as well. Yeah, so really listening, getting the gauge and marking them throughout the ratings as well, where you think they're at with their answers. And like I was saying, this will give you a clear indication of if you want to further take them into the company or if you don't as well. Yeah, so motivational questions are a pretty important element of which I've found I've put into this document and created. I think it's sort of great to find out what people really want, why they're doing this as well, and what they want out of it. So I believe anything you do in life, you need to have a purpose. If you don't have a purpose, what's the point of doing it? We're not just going to rock up in an environment for the sake of it. We really got to come here because we want it and we want to make a change to people as well. Beautiful. Also, another one I'll touch on, how would you describe the work environment or culture you're most productive and happy in? Yeah, so what sort of best suits them? So maybe asking them questions, you know, where they're most productive, for example, marking assessments, if it's at work in their own time, if it's at the park on the weekends, whilst they're listening to music at home. So everyone has different sort of ways of finishing things. I pretty much recommend. So yeah, different things like that. And then this is the conclusion as well. So getting in the sort of gritty ends of it. So do you have any plans for leave as well? So, you know, you could find someone, they just want this maybe sort of part-time, or they don't want this opportunity for that long. They would maybe like to move to another RTO after 6 months, after a year. So they're questions you'll think about as well. You know, do you want someone here just for a short